Hello. Hello.
Hey folks.
Hi guys. Can I merge my own PR? I had to resolve a conflict, but I think it should be okay now. Okay, I'm merging. Anyone wants to run the meeting, or should I?
Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining. Um, let's look at the agenda. I put it in front of me after the make this merges. Um, yeah, I think introductions. Yeah, but by first of all, by joining here, you all agree to the all the different agreements that are published on the agenda. And the meeting is also published to YouTube later on, thanks to the amazing tools that Benji has created. Um, And yeah, let's do a short introductions of everyone according to the order on the agenda reading for today. Jen, starting with you.
Yeah, I'm Jem. I work with Benji at Graphile. My main involvement with this working group at the moment is trying to get the ambassadors program off the ground.
Eric, you're next. You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, I was pulling up the agenda right at this moment, so I was just checking if I was next. But yeah, I'm Eric. I work on open source GraphQL, mainly in Python, and recently I've also been busy organizing meetups, for example, in Amsterdam. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing here.
Hey folks, I'm Benji from Graphile.
I'm Oi from the guild. Happy to be here.
And my name is Martin from Apollo.
Awesome. Really great to have you all here. Anyone wants to volunteer to take notes? We don't have to.
We have robots for that now, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, what's the latest on that, by the way? Benji.
So the Zoom takes the AI notes, and that's now integrated into the various scripts that I run each week. So you should see that those do go up about within a week or so of the meeting itself. If you need them up earlier, just give me a ping on Discord and I can run my various scripts. But at the moment, it's just part of my Thursdays. And yeah, they seem to be working really well. I've not really had any complaints. I have actually put together, like when I've done some review myself of them, there have been issues where they misspell people's names or they don't recognize terms that we're familiar with. So I've got a list of small corrections, which I automatically apply to the notes to make things make some sense. So if you see things like that, please just point me at them, and I will add them to the auto fixes. But yeah, it's going well.
It appears that you can also use the AI companion to chat about the meeting and ask some questions. It actually works, so it listens in all the time and it can use that as context. I haven't seen that enabled before.
Yeah, I haven't been listening to everything you said, so I'll just ask the AI.
Yeah. What should I respond?
Summarize it, yeah. What do they want from me?
It is really effective if you have a conflict and you come into a meeting halfway through and you're just like, what's been said so far? It's very good.
Yeah. Awesome. This is great. I'm super happy with all of this. By the way, I was thinking it's not related to this, but I had this thought to do maybe like a Hive working group and just to take all the tools that we do with the regular working group and use that even for that, like for like products and things like that. I think it just works so well. But yeah, it's really awesome. In terms of reviewing the agenda, so I will start with the ambassadors program, and then, which I think would be the most important thing for today, I added a couple of items that are more updates and asks for feedback. So the first one is just I'll do an update on the latest on the GraphQL.org design and GraphQL.conf's website. I added some call outs to some like stuff that are happening to maybe so people might get feedback and more eyes on it. I thought it was worth mentioning, and maybe others also have stuff to add there, and also to think about the new subject, which is API Days Paris. So yeah, let's start with the ambassadors program. Jem, this is for you. I think usually we go through like the if there's anything ready on the issues, but I didn't see anything, any new comments outside of like the latest updates on the redesign. And I think on GraphQL stars, Benji, you commented there. So if anyone wants to discuss GraphQL stars, we can also add that to the agenda. So Jem, it's probably also related to you, so you can feel free to discuss all of it.
Just as a quick mention, I did slip in a few more agenda items as well. So if you've got the agenda open, do refresh.
Good point. Okay, I see. All right, you added the stars. Nice. Okay. Yeah, let's go through that. Jem, you can start.
Okay, yeah. So the GraphQL ambassadors, I opened it as a request for comments some time ago, I think in April. And I've blinked and now it's June. So yesterday was when I really started looking at this again. My main question was, how do we get this launched? I've been talking that over with some people today, and it seems that basically what we need to do is we need to take what we've written and present it to the foundation, really. So that is what the next step is. So really my question is, you guys are obviously highly engaged in the GraphQL community, that's why you're here. So my two main questions are, is there anything that we are missing from the program that you would want as an ambassador? And what groups of people should we be thinking about asking to join? Really, those are my two main questions. Feel free to answer.
I think
Yeah.
I think we've worked through most of the open discussion points in the pull request, haven't we? I think there's just a couple of minor details open, but I think from the
Yeah,
global
think
scope of the program, I think I'm quite happy with what we came up with in total. So I don't think there's anything missing. It's a great start just to get that going, and then I'd say let's just react to some feedback if we get some, or adjust in case there's any comments from the community.
yeah, exactly. So I think probably our main selling points then to people would be maybe the quarterly meeting that we're thinking about doing, which Martin highlighted, and this is sort of 15-minute presentation style from foundation or TSC reps, followed by a Q&A. That to me sounds like that would be quite a big draw. And then I don't know, the other draw I mean, or am I off base? I don't. Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say I'm very, very excited about it, and I went through it a couple of times. It's really thoroughly well thought of. And yeah, like in my opinion, it's ready to like show the foundation, and then we can do a blog post, and hopefully we can also mention that in the like in GraphQL Conf, maybe in the keynote that Benji and I are giving on the community. Might be a good place to highlight it.
Yeah, ideally we would want to be kind of launching it at the conference, either as a open it to applications, or if we don't run out of time, maybe announcing our first few ambassadors would be brilliant, depending on
Yeah, I
how
also sent.
fast or slow we can move.
I think I also sent Benji a couple of potential ambassadors. I think a month or two ago. Benji, do you remember? I think it was about that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I've got them on a list somewhere.
Awesome.
I think we've got a few names that have kind of been floating around. The list of sort of groups of people I've got are regular working group members, people who are speaking about GraphQL at the foundation conference, but also just industry conferences, people who go out into local communities and are running meetups. And then I think we're also quite keen to target the open source side of things as well. So people who are writing implementations or what we view as like critical tooling around GraphQL. I don't know if there's anything else that springs to mind from anyone.
Did we discuss already how the decision was made to make someone an ambassador?
Yeah, so that's the bit that's been a bit murky to me, but Benji has suggested that it will end up running similar to the grants program. So the email will go out. So we will have applications come in through a form or an email, and then that will get sent off to the TSC, but also we think a set of foundation members as well. And what we would hope to see would be at least one person, but hopefully more people from that group would say yes. But then if someone objected, we would then look into the reasons why. But we're hoping that at least to begin with, it would be people that we already know within the community anyway.
So
What about?
comment I would
Sorry,
have on, yeah,
go for it.
comment I would have on that is to like really make this form that we have on the webpage encouraging in some sort, like really not about, I think the current grants program is really also about, yeah, you can expect this much of a wait time and this much of a process. And I think that sometimes defers people from actually applying. And maybe we can just make this one a bit more, like make this seem a bit more easy, even though there's a process
Okay.
behind that. Like just make it clear that there's a process, but just don't make it sound like you have to wait a couple of weeks to months until you get a reply, but instead just try to react as fast as possible. And after application,
Yeah.
just update them, hey, we're going to review this. This might take a few weeks or months. I think that's a better way to just attract people and not discourage them due to any wait times. But that would be my only comment on that. Other than that, I really like the flow. The only thought I would have is whether we should integrate some sort of review into the community working group as well. So if we should include the working group here also in reviewing the ambassadors.
I think involving the community group would be really nice. My hesitation would be that we wouldn't want to review it publicly. So maybe it could be like a news group list or something instead. But yeah, I'll note that down. I think that's an interesting idea.
Maybe we could also share these applications in the private community working group channel we have on Discord, which is not shared publicly, so that sensitive data would be handled accordingly.
Yeah. Okay, I will add that as a question to the foundation. I think the hesitation would be that as the community working group, we're all just people from anywhere who have decided to come and help, whereas the TSC have been approved by a more legal process. Is that right? Is it legal or official process? And then the foundation obviously want to protect themselves a bit, but I will certainly raise it. How can the community group be involved in the decision? Yeah.
Do we know how other orgs are doing it? I think we had a few other, like, what is it? I think API, Node, CNCF. What's the governance there?
It's difficult to tell as a complete outsider, but it seems to be that it's decisions from within the foundation rather than working groups, I think.
Yeah, but I think the rationale that the foundation and TSC members will make a final decision is good. If we can supplement it somehow by a community working group, I think that's something we should consider, but we shouldn't make it the main point of acceptance or not, whether, yeah. And this way, I think it's a good balance between both.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
contemplating whether it's worth doing some ad hoc committee. TSC is, well, I think 11 people. If we had Linux Foundation, 1 or 2 people, and community working group, it's like we end up with 15 people involved in the decision. So it's going to be very consensual and maybe a bit slow as well. I'm wondering whether having a subgroup, 4 or 5 people representing every entity, like 1 person for TSC, 1 for Linux Foundation, 1 from the community, and I don't know, 2 other people for diversity, or maybe 3 from the community, would be more effective.
So my thought here is that essentially what we want to do is just tell everyone this person has applied or been nominated, and then essentially someone should say, yeah, I know this person, I can vouch for them. And if no one else within a set time limit, let's say 4 weeks, has an objection and a reason not to do it, then we just go ahead. I don't think that we need a full vote where there's a consensus shown or anything like that. I think just every review is given a certain period of time, and if no complaints were raised and at least one person is approved, then we just go ahead and accept them.
Sounds good.
The other small change to the document that we discussed today, and this is really more of a presentational change rather than an actual concrete change, is I think we should do it in terms of nominations rather than applications. And we should allow self-nomination as well. But essentially, you can nominate someone else to be a GraphQL ambassador, and then we can reach out to those people and say, hey, you've been nominated and we think you'd be a great ambassador. I think this is a great opportunity to recognize people in the community that are really helpful or really helping to represent GraphQL in a positive manner.
I agree on nominating others because it will seem less like us reaching out to people and saying, hey, we want you to be an ambassador. So I think that's a great opportunity if someone knows someone who they think would be a great ambassador. I think this is just a terminology kind of thing. I think we should still call it applications for normal applicants. I feel like there's some sort of hesitancy that comes with nominating yourself for a certain role, or like a higher level of confidence. For example, for a TSC, you would self-nominate for an ambassador, maybe. So there's someone who already has a lot of knowledge on GraphQL, but I feel like nominating yourself always implies a lot more standing in the community, as opposed to like taking a chance to improve your or increase your representation of the GraphQL community. So I would personally prefer going with applying plus nominating others, but that's just my personal preference.
Yeah, that makes sense. So two separate forms. I do have one other question, and that is, what do we think is the optimum number of GraphQL ambassadors? Are we looking to have 5 or 10? Are we looking to have 2,000? Like, is there a sensible upper limit that we would like for this?
There's a financial aspect to it, right? We are going to give out sponsoring for traveling, swag, and stuff like this.
Yeah, I think those things will be made available, but they'll be made available on a, whilst the budget allows basis. I think one of the things of being an ambassador is really the recognition that comes with it as well, like the ability to put it on your CV and things like that. That's one of the main things that some people that would be applying to be an ambassador would be doing it for. They want to show, oh, I was a 2025 GraphQL ambassador, recognized by the GraphQL Foundation and the Linux Foundation, and here's a link to my certification for it or whatever. So in those cases, those people may not really like cost the foundation much. We probably still want to send them, a few trinkets. But also, yeah, like if we want to pay for content, or if we want to help support people traveling to conferences or any of the other things that might be supported under this, then yeah, there will be a financial aspect.
I should at least get a GraphQL t-shirt, GraphQL ambassador t-shirt. That's probably doable.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
My point on this is I'd rather have a small set of very engaged ambassadors than a lot of non-engaged ones.
So I think one of the ideas was that we would invite all of the TSC to become ambassadors. So that's up to, I would say, 10 people anyway. And then we want room to obviously widen that to the broader community. So, but maybe not all 10 TSC members would want to sign up for that. I don't know, but we could sort of float around maybe 20 to 30 people to start with, I think. But also we don't know how popular it's going to be, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't put a cap on it. I mean, I agree, like with Martin, like more engaged people than like a lot of people makes a lot more difference than like just a lot of people that are doing a little bit. So I 100% agree on that. But I mean, if I wouldn't cap it because like we might do get like many local developers that want to get engaged, and so like I would start it and see how it goes and like reiterate on that. I think there's a lot of thinking already went into that, like very detailed one, and let's start and see who is being nominated, who joins, and also how helpful it is for them. I think that's also a question, like are people really see that as, are these ambassadors like they see it really helps them, or let's also ask them, like let's say we have like the first batch, we can also then come to them and ask them like what would they actually need to do more, or what would they need to recruit more ambassadors in their own area, let's say. I think that would be like a win if each one of the people, like if let's say I know me or others from local in Israel will get more people in Israel to join it and be involved, and that's way we could spread it on many local communities, and maybe even more contributors, like but I don't know who there's all, like I remember in the Angular community was, I think Google has a page for like the GDEs, I think the Google developer expert. There's tons of them, but it is actually helpful. Like if I remember back then, like you could go and you would see who is in your local city, and you could contact them, and that was actually helpful. So if we can get like a lot of people, and it will make people like I think it would be valuable. So I imagine you'll have like a couple of local experts in each city. Like that will be amazing. Like you're just gonna that will be also the basis for meetups and consultancy gigs, and I think that will be super cool.
So you think ideally in say 3 years' time we're looking at thousands of people?
Yeah, I really hope so. Yeah, like
Okay.
it's a very ambitious goal, but
Yes.
but I can see. I mean, I can say from our side, there's like a real need for GraphQL experts and consultants, and there's not a lot. There's not enough. Like at the guild, I'm talking to a bunch of them, and I'm like, every time I'm talking to one of them, it's like, tell me whatever you need so we can support you. And because people are looking for GraphQL experts everywhere, there's a lot of demand somehow, because I don't know if it's Twitter or something, and everything that's happening, but it feels like GraphQL is in so many companies, but I don't know, finding GraphQL consultants is hard, and I'm sure Apollo feels the same. And like, so if this will create more of these available, like I really think there's a need for it. So yeah, like there's financial opportunities for these consultants, 100%. Like yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't really considered that it would veer into the consultancy side. That's really interesting, but yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That's good. I mean, it's good to have some goals in mind for how it's going to look in X years' time. All right. If we don't have anything to add, or
I was just going to say, if we're saying we have hundreds or thousands of ambassadors, which I support. I find it really cool that you can talk to your local GraphQL ambassador. I wouldn't necessarily put the TSC there because it would blur the line a little bit. And I would see it as two different roles. So TSC would, by default, keep doing the TSC stuff. Actually, they could take part in the ambassador's decision. We could add that to the TSC. And not being an ambassador means it's also conflict-free. You don't nominate yourself. It's a separate thing. So if we're going that road, I wouldn't necessarily put the TSC, but just brainstorming here. No strong opinion yet.
While you were talking about that, I was reflecting on the differences between many ambassadors and just a small set of ambassadors. And I think it's really our question again is what was our initial goal with the ambassador program? Was it to represent GraphQL better at conferences and bring it to the wider audience of tech conferences where we are, in my opinion, currently underrepresented for the use cases that are there? Or do we want to bring GraphQL into the local communities and each and every forum? And I think that's two distinct goals. And to start the program, we should focus on one of these goals because both goals have individual financial needs, right? To support people to go to conferences, we need a lot more financial effort than to support some people at their local meetups, right? A lot more in terms of individual effort, like individual expensing and so on. So I think we should, for now, start with a clear line, but keep the other in mind as a long-term goal. And in my opinion, it's very effective to start with a few concentrated efforts at key conferences and key opportunities, and then fan out from that and expand the program from that, instead of just trying to build a local community where no local community is yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes,
agree.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I said like this, like experts network, or I mean, it's a direction that it could lead to, but also, I mean, maybe it will really depend on the ambassadors that are coming, right? Like we can start it and then see. I do think that if you get like someone that is active, they have a lot of like they will have a lot of incentives to do both, like starting a local community, joining conferences, and basically spread the word. Like I just think about myself when I was like starting as a Angular consultant, and like somehow stuff are leading into it. So I started with my closer environment because this is just what I had access to, and I had some like benefits there because I don't need to like overcome some like geniuses in the Angular team, right? I'm just like, telling my friends about Angular. And then, I gradually did a couple of talks with, I don't know, in specific companies and in local meetups. Then I got some consulting gigs. Then that turned into like submitting to NGConf. And from then on it grew. So it's like, I think we can just like start getting people and see and ask them like, how we can help them in whatever path they choose. I mentioned it just because I think I really think there's a real financial incentives for people to be GraphQL experts and consultants. And I think like a missed opportunity, there's a real need. And yeah, like and a good time, I think, also to do that. So it's like more than we support you, and it could actually lead to like somehow we could, I don't know if we can and should specify it, but if somehow I could like tell more people like, look, there's an opportunity and a need here, and it's not going away, it's actually just growing and growing. Like I hope like I would love to give that message to more people, and I'm not sure how, but maybe this could be one area that, or a place that could do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I love your enthusiasm. It's quite nice to see actually after a few months of quiet in the community repo.
No,
So
the quietness from my side was just because I couldn't
well,
think of
we're all
more things
quiet.
to add. Yeah, it was like
Yes, there's too much to do. I think ideally I would like to have a first cohort of ambassadors to announce at the conference in September. So I think what I'm going to do is get this through to one of the groups at the foundation to start talking it over some more. And we will take, I will take what I've written, and it can become an article to sort of launch the program as well, and then hopefully we will then be able to sort of have a launch day on that first conference day. That would be my ideal path for this for the next couple of months. So I'll keep prodding our little issue now and then with little updates of how I'm going, I suppose. Yeah, I've just got a thumbs up. Yeah, so thank you, everyone.
great work. This is really exciting. Okay, I guess so. Should we move to the next subject? Okay. So yeah, next is myself. Just to give some updates. So about the design. In general, I think we kind of nailed the initial version of the landing page, and the designer started designing all the internal pages. I'll go through them. I'll share the screen. I'll do it really quickly because all of you can access it through the issue. I'm asking everyone that's going to listen to that call to share as much ideas and information about it and feedback. Everything you already mentioned was really, really helpful. So thank you. And we're keeping on moving forward. I'm really excited about the new design. One important update from yesterday is that the conf website is up based on the new design. GraphQL Conf, the new website is up with the schedule and the speakers. So first thing to do is actually to go through that website. We'll go to the GraphQL Conf website and share any feedback that you can have on that website, on the website itself. It's live. You can play with it. You can see if it's actually helpful. Yeah, let us know. So the URL is GraphQL.org/conf. Yeah, so give us any feedback. Okay, so that's about the conference. Then there's the design themselves. I'm going to share the screen, but just like really quickly. I don't want to take everyone's time on this, like because you have access to it and you can review it. But can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this page is like the current version of the landing page. I think all of you already seen that. I think there's also like a there's like a mock-up version where you can actually scroll and see stuff are moving, and yeah, so that's like the current version of that. There's the dark mode here. I'm not sure it's all fully up to date with like the content. So the update data and content is that one, and the dark one is more just to see how it looks like in dark one. There's the mobile version as well here. So that's the landing page. The next page that we moved into is the learn section. So you can see here, all those things are linked in the issue. So this is the learn section. These are the subjects that are currently there on the website already, but it's kind of like and the best practices. It's kind of like we merge them all, like learn best practices and FAQs also here. At some point, we thought to use that, but not as like a comparison in terms of like what's better, but just to like get people that are, let's say, coming from REST or they're aware of other technologies, to show them like how would you want to do X or Y in GraphQL. So that will like there will be a whole new issue and a whole discussion about that, because I'm sure there's a lot to say about that. So the initial version won't hold this like table, but I think it might be helpful as again, not to the comparison and saying who's better, but just like to give context for people that are coming from different technologies. So that's the learn section. You can see here, if you go on learn, you know, they made it a bit nicer. Like you have chapters and like lessons. So a bit different structure than what was before. Similar thing for the best practices. And if anything here, including full pages, seems wrong to you or whatever, any feedback is welcome. Like we want to get everything. Don't be shy and don't be afraid to tear it down. Everything is good. So this is the FAQ section. Like you can expand each question. I personally found this structure like easier to navigate, but would love to hear your thoughts. This is more new. This is the tools and libraries section, where you can filter by languages or categories. That we'll need also maybe to think about which categories we want to include here. And these are like the community resources. So I think this page, I would love a lot of feedback from everyone's here and ideas of how you would want to structure it. Like this is just an initial design to get everyone to think about it and to get your thoughts on it and ideas, like any ideas. So yeah, so this is kind of like general community section. There's like an initial events and meetups section with maps and stuff like that. Contribute to GraphQL. It's a lot based on one thing that I also want to add is most of it is now based. I'll mention it in a second. So I'll just go through everything. Just so it'll be in the recording for anyone who wants to see. Yeah, resources, courses, things like that. Yeah, the GraphQL Foundation, like a page about that.
I'm not
Process.
too familiar with Figma, so I didn't realize this was all here. I've just opened
Yeah,
it up
so-
myself and I found it all, so I'll have another good look.
Yeah, exactly. One of the reasons I wanted to like do a screen share is just to show how I'm moving between the screens, because for me as well, it was like very hard to find everything. So I'm just using this nav bar, which I think everyone should have access to. And if not, send me a message or comment on the issue and I'll make sure it's public for everyone. Yeah, how to become a GraphQL member. Like a lot of the content here is related to the stuff that we're talking about a lot. So yeah. Yeah, so that's basically the current state. Couple of things I wanted to mention. How do I stop the screen sharing? I'm not sure actually. Wait. Okay. Yes. So couple of things I wanted to also mention about that. One is that all the content right now is based on the current content of the website, but it might be also an opportunity if any one of you wants to use that in order to change the structure, change the content itself, and rethink things, it's a good chance to do that. Specifically, I had a call today with the designers, and one thing that I was thinking is that the videos section, I want it to be something. I want it to be a place where it's easier to navigate videos based on something you're looking for, like certain subjects. For example, if I want to get all the videos about Federation. And because right now we have a lot of content from all the conferences, we're going to have much more. But they're all are basically, you can find them and they have very nice pages on the conference websites. But I don't think that's where people are looking for videos. I think like usually you want a page where you get all the different videos and you can filter by subject. You can feel like you don't care if it was on GraphQL Conf 2023 or 2025. You just want to get like Federation related videos, and that also turned into like a question or an idea that I had, which was like, maybe we can, if you filter through the Federation, you can see libraries related to the Federation, videos related to Federation, tutorials related to Federation, like basically kind of like an aggregate of all kinds of different content types that we have on the website. So those are just like very general thoughts that just recently I shared with them. But yeah, I'm calling everyone to give more feedback. I'm reading the comments that you wrote. Can I check your progress for the chapters at all? What do you, Benji? What do you mean, like about
Let
progress?
let me raise these. So I really liked that you essentially reformatted the documentation into like chapters and that like lessons, right? That's a really nice experience. So what I was thinking is it would be really nice for someone who wants to come to graphql.org to learn, but they're doing it like 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, to essentially be able to show a bit like on, Netflix, you're 30% through or whatever. Even if we're just storing that to local storage or something like that, it would just be a really, really nice addition to that and make it feel a lot more interactive and like you're achieving something by reading it.
This is a great idea. Please write it somewhere, whether it's like in the issue itself or a new issue, or even on the graphql.org website. But yes, maybe on the issue itself, so the designers will see that and we'll have a design, and then we'll get to feature it at some whenever we can. But I love it. I think it's a great idea. We can do that without, like you said, like in a simple with local storage instead of like people signing in and things like that. Like it shouldn't be too not intrusive and not complicated.
Yeah, just a nice to have. Then the second comment was you've got deliver high performance user experiences at scale. I like that, but I also think you should add the word any. Just deliver high performance user experiences at any scale, because I think one of the things that we don't communicate very well is it's great for small projects all the way up to the biggest projects in the world. And you don't have to be using a massive federated architecture to get the best out of GraphQL. You can do it at any scale.
100% agree. Yes. Also, please comment on that somewhere so we can track it. Great point.
What just came to my mind when you said that, Benji, was to maybe in the future, like as a long-term goal, add some kind of certification, like Apollo does it with Odyssey. If you've seen that, it's just a program where you can do a couple of lessons, and after that you get a LinkedIn badge. And if people put a GraphQL badge on their LinkedIn, it will also make their involvement in GraphQL more visible. So I think that's also an advantage for us, because currently GraphQL is not a prominent skill in many job descriptions or in any CVs or something like that. So many times organizations will just say you're fluent with web APIs, and then you will need to know GraphQL, but it's not something that is very openly communicated in the market. One more topic I would like to add on in terms of website and also conference website. I feel like we're kind of missing the AI hype train this year a bit. It's not that I would say, okay, let's jump completely aboard it and just drop all of our other efforts and go full all in on AI. But I think there's some cool use cases that have recently emerged, and especially with things like MCP coming up. I don't think I've checked the schedule that is online so far. I don't think a single talk was accepted doing AI in GraphQL. Um, so maybe at least in the website, we could drop some mention in there because it is a part. It might not be a part that is logical for many enterprise users yet, but so is using GraphQL in a database setup or something like that. We should still represent it as a community as a whole, and maybe also find some ways to connect to other communities because they are very active in meetups. And if we get some nice tooling that could be integrated in there, we could get some new developers and new people who are interested in GraphQL. And I think now it's still an early opportunity that we can use, but in a year or something, it might be something we have missed out on. So let's keep that in mind for now and maybe develop some ideas.
Um, uh, I'll address your first comment first. I agree. Having a certificate will be awesome. We used to have a certificate on GraphQL from the Linux Foundation. I think the course was written by Prisma back then. I think the issue there is, so we should and can bring it back. I agree. This is a great thing to do. The content is the issue. Like we need someone to actually write the tutorial or to look at the previous one that I think is basically based on how to GraphQL.com. So, and we at the Guild, we updated that on the Yoga website based on the Yoga server, but like you could easily take that and generalize it into like a general GraphQL or GraphQL.js or and get like a course and republish the Linux GraphQL course. Maybe you can open a new issue about it, I think, and then we can start the discussion. I think it's a great idea. We should do it. About AI, 100% agree. First of all, in terms of the website, if you have any ideas of where and how to integrate it, add it. Like we want that. I think right now it's mentioned on the. There's a very little mention on it on the landing page. There's like a section of use cases, like GraphQL Write for, and then there's all kinds of use cases. And I think there's something about AI there, but maybe it's not enough. Apollo is doing a lot of content on that, and we try to share it everywhere we can on GraphQL Weekly and whatever we can. There's also a couple of other open source libraries like GraphQL MCP. In general, I agree that like we should have, this is something we should address on GraphQL.org. So maybe you can also start like a whole issue just about that and to where, with ideas of where to push it related to the website and not related to the website. And about GraphQL Conf, I do think there's going to be a bunch of talks on AI. Like, I don't know if Benji, maybe you remember better, but we got a lot of submissions, and I think we have at least one panel. Maybe it's not published yet because like there's some like less things to do, but I think there's a bunch of talks about AI. But it's a good point also. Like we can make sure there's good representation of that because we got a lot of submissions. So we should have good representation for that, I think. I myself will review again the schedule and see. Yeah.
I only have access to the public schedule. It still says there's a couple of unannounced sessions, so that might be the ones you're talking about, Uri.
Yeah.
Yeah. In general, like my gut feeling is, especially with enterprises now reading, okay, the future of, for example, e-commerce is AI or agentic stuff, and then reading, okay, the future of this is MCP or maybe something else, some other hype technology that will be modern in 5 months, right? The space is evolving quickly. I don't want people to leave GraphQL or an important community event without a notion of, okay, GraphQL is also useful for what's coming up And we don't want to lose that sense of, okay, GraphQL is also valid for, or even helpful for everything that can come up in the future for your future needs and everything, all of the trends that are currently evolving, right?
Yeah, so we'll definitely check that in the next conference committee. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of them, so we'll need to make sure about that. It's actually related also to the other things that other subjects that I want to talk about, but let's finish with the website and mostly calling for everyone to review, give all of your ideas, and let's move to GraphQL stars, just so we'll make sure we'll cover that before the end of time.
Yeah, just two very, very quick things on this. Since you're doing the new designs for the website, we'll be doing the GraphQL stars again this year. So we've already got like the framework that generates them and stuff. And essentially, we just want to know, like, should we just update the year to 2025, or is there like a new background image, a new image to go on the back that we can do, maybe a new color scheme? Ideally, I don't want to do too much rebuilding of it because it's all like optimized to go to the printers and stuff already. But yeah, if there's assets that can be used for that, that would be really helpful. Or we can just stick with the current ones. And similarly, I don't know whether we have already, but we will presumably be sending out a slide deck to our speakers for GraphQL Conf soon, saying, hey, you can use your own slide deck if you want, but if you want to, here's the GraphQL one. That's what we've done in previous years. And if we want to reflect the new design there, we will need that, I would imagine, quite soon, or maybe it's too late. I literally don't know. That's Carolyn. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that's on your radar.
So first of all, maybe you can just DM me with kind of like a brief that I can then just send it to the designers, and then whatever they come up with, then it will be your decision if it's too crazy, or if you want to take just small parts of it, or just continue with what we already have. I think what we already have is already awesome. So whatever would make the cut. But send me that, and I'll make sure that they would work on it and send us back something, and then you can choose if to do it or to postpone it to the next time. I would also think the reason I asked about the script and everything was that maybe we can even like include that in GraphQL Conf website, in GraphQL.org website. Like maybe we can have a session for the stars. I don't know.
Yeah, I would
be
love
cool.
to do that. So we should find a way to export it in a reasonable way. I don't think.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can talk
And
about
we
that
can also
separately.
update it manually, but like, yeah, let's add also that to the website. I think it will be valuable. Maybe also think that with the ambassadors, like kind of like where we highlight where on the website we highlight individuals from the community. I think it will be, we should have a good place for that.
Yes, agreed.
Awesome. I can continue for a couple of minutes if anyone, like I don't have too much to share, but if others can continue for a bit, or should we stop here?
I think Benji might have a meeting to go to, but I'm happy to stick around.
Oh,
Okay, so I'll just go through the things, and then we'll have it in the recording. We won't discuss it in terms of decisions or everything, but just then the callouts will be there, and then we can discuss it in the next meeting. Thanks everyone. So I'll just go quickly through the other stuff. So I just wanted to call out some things that are happening. One is there's a lot of new content going into the new GraphQL JS website by Sarah. So anyone, I'll show some links here, but like you can go to anyone can go to the GraphQL.js repo and look at the PRs, the latest open ones, and also the latest merged ones. And there's a lot of like very good content there. And it's also an opportunity to like rethink a bunch of content. So I would call out everyone to go and look for it and give us feedback. Same goes for GraphQL.org, like putting aside the new design and everything, there's a lot of new content coming in. Some of it is like about best practices. There's a couple of PRs about best practices and all kinds of things like that, also from Sarah. So would love everyone's feedback on that. And there's a couple of blog posts that I think are worth sharing and discussing. Some content, by the way, is like about, let's say, file uploads and things like that. There's a blog post about the upcoming one-off directives, which is very interesting. Another thing is that we would love feedback on is there's Dima has been working on a grant for upgrading Graphical. So there's 4.1 is already out with a bunch of things, and there's a blog post already out on that, and there's Graphical 5 that includes Monaco editor. So I encourage everyone to like go through it, try things out, and give the feedback, both on the blog post itself and on Graphical itself, and like add everything that you're missing there. And Eric, related to what you just said, at the foundation also, there was a bunch of people thinking about AI and how we can make sure that GraphQL is relevant there. One initiative was to publish a blog post about it. So there's a blog post now with a PR number 2008 that's trying to call out some of the things. Would love feedback on that. Would love feedback on, in general, on AI and how we can do better to like tell people that GraphQL should be the API for AI, which I 100% on board with for many, many reasons. So let's make sure we address this everywhere, like on blog posts, on the new design and content, maybe as a chapter on the learn section, and maybe and make sure that we have talks on the conference about it. So yeah, so those are all like the callouts that I had, and so that's about that subject. Do you have anything else that you want to tell people to review, or stuff that happened recently that you want to highlight?
I just wanted to highlight there that Sarah, who is adding this content, she's actually one of our grant applicants. So it's really great to see that this community grant system is starting to work now. So I'm chuffed.
That's an important shout out. Like both the graphical work and the work from Sarah are grants, and the works are really valuable. So also for others who are listening, if you want to submit grants, please do. We have more budget to spend on important things. So know that it's there. And if you think you have a good thing to contribute, feel free to try to apply for the grant, the GraphQL grant. For now, it's working very well, and we're looking for more submissions. Okay, and then last subject that I wanted to discuss, and just to mention, every year there's API Days Paris. It's a very large conference. Also, the API Days team, they have many conferences all around the world, and they really want to collaborate with us. And they offered basically for us to do even like a full GraphQL day at their conferences, and I think we should really, like, I'm very much in favor of that, and I will start an issue on that now that we finished deploying the new website for GraphQL Conf. I think we can, one thing we could do is like to add general conferences and not just GraphQL Conf conferences, but also like API days. We can call it GraphQL Day. I mean, there's all kinds of questions around the trademark and stuff. We'll all validate the names that are okay, that the foundation is okay with. But in general, they're happy to collaborate with us, and I think it's a good opportunity, not only in the upcoming Paris conference, but if that will be successful in Paris, it's around December, I think this year, beginning of December. Then we can then use the same formula, adjust it, and then do it with API Days New York or any place in the world. I think they have so many other locations, and they're really happy to collaborate. They're really nice people, and we can then use that also to collaborate with other conferences as well. So yes, I would love, but I would love like we would need to actively do that. So we will need to actually like start an issue, but we will need to actively talk with them, get the website up, and help them to choose content and spread the word.
I think the main issue we've had with API Days in the past is trying to find the people who can actually be involved and actually do the work that's needed.
Yeah.
We haven't had. I don't know if we've had too much success in the past with that. But who knows? Maybe this year we can drum it up and make it sound more exciting.
Yeah, I think. So I think in 2022, we the guild came, and it was very nice. And I think the Escape people were mainly in charge of there was a whole track for GraphQL. I really enjoyed it. I think there were a couple of talks from the guild, from Escape, from Chili Cream. I think it's the first time I met Michael in person, and maybe like others. So it was actually pretty cool. 2023, we had a booth there, and there were a bunch of sponsors. I think Apollo was sponsoring, Mazura was sponsoring, maybe others. I think the sponsors weren't excited, and then I think Stellate was also sponsoring. I think the sponsors weren't very excited about sponsoring, and I think that took the wind a bit out. But I think as a participant, it's very interesting. And again, this is like our way to interact with people from other communities that are actually relevant for us. So I think it's very interesting. Yeah.
Actually, Lucas from Async API also reached out to me about coming to the standards booth in Munich. I'm not sure if I can make it yet, and we haven't set up any program or anything else yet. But at the very least, to have someone who knows GraphQL there would be very helpful. Because I mean, Uri, I remember the impressions we had after 2023, and we talked about the conference a bit. And of course, like API Days has a couple of target audiences, right? For one, people just looking for new enterprise grade tooling. And I think that's where the sponsors thought they had a target audience. But the other audience is just people working in enterprise who have some kind of touch point with APIs. And kind of capturing the attention of these people is valuable, even though the conference has a lot of sponsors and also a lot of focus on selling
Yes.
at the main booth. But just to capture a bit of that attention towards GraphQL, especially for product owners and directors that are also there, is very valuable. And we should at the very least talk about having a booth staff there, at least someone at the API standards booth that Lucas and I think Rafa from the Open API initiative organize. And I think that is something we should definitely focus on. The other question is, are we ready for a full day GraphQL track yet? And that I'm not sure, given the audience level or the audience fluency of GraphQL. I think it's more to sprinkle a few talks into the agenda and capture people in the rooms about the GraphQL. For example, in the security track, or in the docs track, or in the API standards track. And try to engage people there with GraphQL. And if we see some good resonance there, maybe we can think about having a track. because I remember in 2023 the attendance of the GraphQL track was mediocre at best,
Right.
to be very honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's very
Many
true.
people didn't even know it was there because they were just there for the other tracks. And
Yeah.
I don't think we have this kind of draw in the general API community yet to just get an entire track at the API Days community.
It's true. It's weird. Like in 2022, I think there was many more people than 2023 in the GraphQL track. But I agree with you. I think what we should start is, first of all, put it all on an issue. And then I think the main thing we need to push for is finding people who want to go there and to help set it up. Once we have that, based on what they are willing to do and are committed to do, we can decide on what we can actually commit to, like whether it's just a booth, maybe a couple of talks sprinkled, like you said, and maybe a track. But yeah, let's start with like maybe a call out to who actually wants to join and can join. From if we had the ambassadors program, we could like send all those people a question. But maybe we can also use the first batch to that. But let's see how it goes. I'll already start like an issue and we'll try to see who wants to join. Martin on the chat said that he wants to join, so he will be there. So that's really cool. So we'll have at least one person. Also, Valentin from the guild is also from France, so maybe he will want to join. He was with me in 2023. I'll start an issue there and we'll see how it goes.
Maybe one follow-up question on that, because I have some more foundation knowledge here. What's the current process to get some merch or stickers for these kind of conferences? So say I was going, or someone else I knew was going to a booth and staffing the API Standards booth, because I know you can do it via the community foundation call. If you're a member there, you can ask them to send your merch, but that's not for non-foundation members. So do we have a process on that, or should we also open an issue on getting that done?
Yes, we do. So we have the local gathering initiative, and you can, instead of saying I'm doing a regular meetup in such a city, you can also use it to say I'm going to this conference representing GraphQL. Can I have some funding for stickers or whatever? Unfortunately, it's mostly on an expenses system, so it would be refunding you afterwards. But if that's an issue, then I'm sure we've got a friendly team and we could probably figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware that was also possible for just getting stickers.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make that a little clearer.
Yeah, we should actually. I'll see if I can find you the link to that. But do reach out through that same program and we can get that sorted.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've done on last year was I just went through, because I think we didn't have any stickers, so I just went through all the sponsors and got like merch from each one of them and put them all together in the. So I'm sure like also, vendors in the community would be happy to send anyone that's their merch, and best to have just GraphQL merch and everything, but like I don't think there's a reason not to also include like vendors merch and stuff like that, and I'm sure they will be happy to sponsor and send. So
yeah, sounds good.
Great. So thanks for everyone for joining. It was a great meeting. Very excited for all the initiative. See you online.
See you soon.
Bye.